In this video, I'm going to show you how you can extract company information and business information from Yale.com or Yellow Pages. Hi everyone, welcome. My name's John, and let's get going. So the first thing that I always like to do is to have a look at the website and go to View Page Source, and that will pop up and that will tell us whether we can or can't scrape with Beautiful Soup. And one of the easiest ways to do that, I find, is if we take, say, some specific part of the information on the site and copy it, and then you go to the source code, and if you can find it and it looks like this in the HTML, you'll be able to use Beautiful Soup to be able to get it out. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to copy the URL, and we're going to head over to VS Code. So we're going to need two libraries for this. We're going to need requests, so let's import requests, and also Beautiful Soup 4. So from BS4, import Beautiful Soup. Now, if you don't have either of these installed, you can install them with pip. Once you've got those installed, we're going to do set our URL and put in what we came up with there. I'm also going to use custom user agent for this. So I'm going to do set some headers is equal to, and then I'm going to say user dash agent, and we're going to set it to a proper user agent just so that's done nicely. So if you don't know what that is, it's basically just a text string that gets sent along with your request that helps the server identify you. So if you're not sure what to do, just type in my user agent and Chrome will tell it for you. You can copy that out, we can paste that in there, and that's all good then. So the first thing we want to do is we want to make our request to the server. So we're going to do r is equal to requests dot get, and we're going to say our URL, and we're also going to say that headers is equal to headers, and that's just going to do specify what we've put here and send it with our request. And then we want to do soup is equal to Beautiful Soup, and we're going to turn our R from our request, and we're going to do dot content, and we're going to say we're going to use the HTML parser for this one. There are other ones you can use, it doesn't matter, sometimes I switch, this is just the one I'm using at the moment. Okay, so now if we print, let's say soup.title, hopefully we get some information back from the page, and we can see that we've got the title back here, so that means everything is working. So now we can go back to our page and we can start using the inspect element tool to find out where the information is that we are after. Okay, so if we look at this, just to start with, we can see we have the name, there's an address, and there's a rating and how many ratings there are. Okay, so there's two buttons as well. There's one for website and one for call. When the website one does appear to have the link to the business website, so we can get that. And the call one is actually just a button that brings it up for us like this. But what we can do is when we look through the inspect element tool, it's actually still there, it's loaded, it's just an event load up, so we can get that information as well. So let's start with a name. So we'll do inspect, I'll make this bigger so we can see, click on the little select element, and the first thing we'll do is hover over the whole thing. So if we see, I'll make it a bit bigger, small, there we go. So we can see that we've got all of these article classes, and now every time I hover over it, it loads the next one up. You can see it makes the next one blue, so we're selecting that. The problem with this is that although they all start with the col SM24, we could use that, but it's a really, really long class. So if we just go in one level further, we can see we actually hit a div with a class of row business capsule, and that is identical to each one of those. So I'm going to use that to start with. So I'm going to copy this div class. I'm going to go back to VS Code, and I'm going to say articles is equal to soup.find all, and it was a div, and the class was equal to that right there. So all I'm doing is I'm using the find all to find every instance where there is a div of class that matches this in our soup. So if we just do print the length of articles, because articles is going to be a list, save that, and we can run that, we should get a number back, 25. So it's looking like we're getting 25 articles per page. So the next thing we want to do is we need to find where the information is within this. So again, now we know we're in this this div here, we can click on the title. We can see that underneath our H2, we have the name of the business here. This is actually in a span of a class of business capsule name. So we're going to copy that, perhaps VS Code, and we're going to just paste that in there real quick. So we're going to do name. Actually, what we'll do is we'll start our for loop because we want to loop through every single article on this page, every single business. So we'll do for, let's just call it item in articles. And then we can do name is equal to item.find. And it was a span. And the class is equal to this. And we want the dot text. So all we're doing here is that because articles is a list with our find all, soup.findAll will return us a list. We're going to loop through that list. So for every item in that list, we are going to find the span with the class of this, and it's going to return the text. So if I print that out now, we should get all the names appearing in our terminal, which we do, and there are 25 of them. Okay, so that's great. So that's working. So now we just need to go ahead and get the rest of the information. Now, any information on this page you can get. Previously, I've done things like the link, the name, the address, all that sort of stuff. I'm just going to focus on a few main ones at the moment. So you guys grab the concept, and then if you actually wanted to do this for yourself, you could go ahead and maybe get all of this information as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to get the address. Now, if we hover over this, we can see it kind of in bits. And if we look down here, we can see, is that on screen? Yes. But it comes up and it says it's on a span of item prop is equal to street address. Now that brings up 3 different ones here, but they're all inside this one here with a span item prop address. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and hit this one specifically, and then what we're going to do is we're going to strip all the white space, and then we're going to remove the extra lines. You'll see what I mean in a minute. So I'm going to copy that and back into our code, and I'm going to say address is equal to item.find again, and it was a span. Now we need to do something a little bit different with this one, because with these ones we can call class with an underscore, but we actually need to use the dictionary approach for the item prop. So we're going to open the little brackets up here, and we're going to say item prop, and then we're going to pass in the key. The item prop is the key, and then the value was address that we put there. So if I go ahead and print address just like that, we'll see that we actually get 1, 2, 3 bits of information back per span tag. Okay, so we can go and we can ask for the dot text of that, and that will take away the span tags. Okay, but you can see it's kind of giving us a load of white space, and it's all on separate lines. So the way to get around that is to do dot strip to remove the white space, and then to do dot replace, and we're going to replace the new lines, which in Python is a \n. So that means it's finding every new line within our text, and we can see that we have one in there, and we're going to replace that with just nothing, just like that. So if we print this again, we should get all the addresses on one line, nicely separated with the commas, which were in the HTML code anyway. So now we've got the address. Let's go and get the website. If we come back here and hover over the website button, we can see that it is an A tag for a link, and it gives us the href, and that is the website there. Some of them don't have a website, but there's something in there anyway, and we can just filter through those when we don't need that information. So this is the A tag here. It has a class of button, yellow, business, blah blah blah. So let's copy that, head over to our code, and it's item.find, because we are looking for one of these, and we said it was, I've forgotten already. Oh, of course it's an A tag. A, and again we need to use the same class approach that we did on the other one, because it was a class. Paste that in there. And at the end of this, this line here, if we just pass in href in brackets like this, what that's going to do is it's going to get the actual href tag from here. So if we wanted to get any of these other ones, we could put that in at the end. But none of the other ones are any use to us. We just want the href. So we'll show you that now. I'll do print website, save that, and we'll run it, and we should get the website back for every single one. Okay, so we did, but we can see none type object is not subscriptable. So what that means is the one that, whichever one is after this one, doesn't have a website. So to get around that, we can just simply do a try and accept. So I'm going to do try, and then if that doesn't work, if there is nothing there, we'll just do accept. And after our accepts, what we're going to do is we're just going to put website is equal to, and then we can just have a blank thing there. So it'll just give us a blank line. So let's run that. And we can see that we've got all the addresses. Looks like we've got some duplicates. I wonder if that's because we actually have multiple. Oh yes, we have multiple Gregs and multiple Prets. Okay, lots of them. So that's it's bringing up multiple data, but that's because it is multiple. So now we've got that done. Let's go ahead and get the telephone number. Now we looked at this earlier, and it comes up when we click on this button. But what we can do is if we check through once we've clicked on it and hover over it, actually brings it up here and it is available. And to double check that, if we copy this class and go back to the source code and search for it, it is indeed here, span class, and it's just hidden from view until you click on the button. That's quite lazy. What they probably should do to stop this is have it as an actual event, so it loads it up instead of just being hidden. But that's not a problem. That works for us just fine. So now we know that it's a span with a class of business telephone number. We can copy that, go back to our code, and get rid of our print. Telephone or tel is equal to item dot find, and it was a span tag, and the class again underscore is equal to business telephone number, and we'll hit dot text on that as well. And let's try now to print the name, address, website, and telephone number for each of the businesses on this page. Great, so it did work. We've managed to get some of it. However, we've gone and hit our doesn't have a none type, and that basically means that there is no data in that one as well. So we're going to have to do the same thing again for the telephone number. We're going to do try and find that and return it. Otherwise, we are going to do tel is equal to nothing. Now you can do a pass in here, but because we're about to put this into a dictionary, we want something in this value. Okay, so now that we know we're going to get there with that, we can do, let's say, business is equal to, and we'll give ourselves a little bit more space just to work here. And we're going to basically put in all this information. So we have name is equal to our name variable, address, and website, and again tel for telephone. Okay, I think that was everything. Name, address, website, and telephone. Yep. And then I'm going to print this dictionary that we have just created for each one, and we'll run this, and we should have a nice Python dictionary with all the information for each one of the things on that page. So we can have a quick look. We can see here the name, address, the website. Now this is just filler data, but that's okay, but it's got a telephone number. I'm noticing just now that there's some extra white space on the telephone numbers, so I'm actually going to put .strip at the end of that as well. So that's how we would do the main crux of it, getting the information out. We could also say if you wanted to get the ratings and whatnot, that's also the same, follow the same principle, do item.find, check the HTML tag. If some of them have ratings and some of them don't, which they do, make sure you do a try and accept. and make sure you put this data in afterwards. Otherwise, when you try and add this to your dictionary, it will fail and you won't get anywhere. So that's how we did it for one page. Now, if we wanted to do multiple pages, we need to see how the website deals with multiple pages. So we scroll down to the pagination and we click on the next page. We can see that the URL changes and it adds a and page num is equal to on the end. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy the end of that URL and I'm going to add it to the end of our one here. It's quite hard to see because it's at the end of the line. But all we've done is just added this onto the end of the page URL. Now that'll still work nicely, but we actually need to tidy this up now because it's much easier to do pagination when everything is in a nice function. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to split my code up into our three main parts, and then it will be nice and easy for us to manage and see everything happening and test and do all the pages. So the first one I'm going to define a function. I want to call it extract, and I'm going to say we need a URL for this, and then I'm going to indent all of this. So the request part and the soup part. So what we want to do is we want to, instead of calling our variable here, we actually just want to return this. Okay, so now our next part would be transform, and we need a variable, so let's call that articles because that's what we called it before. And again, let's indent all of this like that. And instead of print business, we're actually going to add this to a list. So I'm going to say main list dot append, and we're going to say add our business to that. Okay, and now I'm just going to create a blank list at the top so we can add it to it. Okay, so that's our creating our main list with our each one business in it. So now we know that this one works. We can collapse down some of these so we have a bit more space. And what do we need to do now? Okay, yeah. So now we can call our functions. So we're going to do extract, and remember we need to give it a URL, and this is the URL here. So I'm going to copy this out, and then I'm going to delete this line, seeing as we are putting this in at the top. We don't need it in there anymore. Okay, so let's make this a big one again. Now that we know that the page number changes at the end of the URL every time, what we want to do is we want to turn this into an F string. So I'm going to change this. I'm going to get rid of the 1. I'm going to put the curly brackets in. I'm going to put an X in. So what this means is that every time we loop through this, it's going to add whatever value X is to the end of the URL, and we're going to use X as the page number. And in front of the text we put F. And now if we go back to the end, we can see it's changed. It's now got the white X in the bracket. So that just basically means that it's fine, it's working. And then we would want to do transform, and we need a variable for this. We might as well call it articles again. So what we need to do is we need to say that everything that comes out of our extract is saved into the articles variable like this. Now if we print main list and we say for the starters, let's just say X is equal to 1. You don't need to put this in now. I'm just basically doing a quick test, and that's not how I did main list, is it? I did it with a spec underscore. Okay. So this should basically return all of our list back. So you can see we've now got a list of dictionaries with all of the information we just got out that we were looking at. This is still for the first page. If I change X to 2, what was the first one? Was the Honeybee Bakery. We run this again. We should get a different one at the top. And we do. We've got another Cafe Nero. There seems to be lots of those in Glasgow, or anywhere probably, I should imagine. At the bottom of our transform function, we need to make sure we add in a return function, which I've done here. Now I'm going to do a for loop to deal with the pagination. So I'm going to do for X in range, which means every time it loops through, X becomes the next number in our range. And I'm going to do page 1 to include up to and including 8, so 1 to 9, because I know that this website has 8 pages for this results. Now, this is sort of an easier way to do it, but if you were trying to do this a bit differently, you'd want to see what happens when you try and go to the end page and see what happens there, and then do some kind of proper error handling. But just for this example, I'm just going to do for range because I know that this will work. So we'll do for x in range 1 to 9 because I know there are 8 pages, so we want to go up to but not including 9. And then we'll run transform, our extract, and then transform. And now just to do a test, I'm going to do go ahead and print the length of the list only, and I'm going to change this to just to we'll do 1 to 2 for now and see how many results we get back. So we got 1. Why did we only get 1? I've just fixed a small error that I had in my function. I had the return indented 1 too far, which meant it only went through the first result and then returned. So we need to make sure that the return is on the correct line. So now I've fixed that. If we run for x in range, we'll see how many results we got back. We got back 25 because we only did 1 page, 1 up to 2 but not including 2. So if we do 3, we should get, I think, 50. Okay, excellent. So we know that that is working. So I'm going to put that back up to 9 because we know there are 8 pages, and I'm going to create a new function to export this to CSV. Now to do that, I pretty much always use pandas, so I'm going to do import pandas as PD. We're going to save that, and then we're going to collapse this down, and we're going to create a new function here, and we're going to say, and we're going to call this load, and we don't need anything to pass in there, and we are going to do df for data frame is equal to pd dot data frame with the capitals, and we're going to give it our main list. So that's just going to load our main list into a data frame, makes it nice and easy for us, all tidy. And then we're going to do df.to CSV, and we're going to call it coffee shops Glasgow.csv. That's a really long name. And we do index is equal to false, and that basically means when you create a data frame, it has its own index, which is a 0 index. We don't need that. We just want it to start at the first thing that we've got. So we're going to remove the standard data frame index when we export it. Okay, so now that we know that that works, after and outside our loop, so we want to loop through every single page and store it all in our main list. We're then going to call our load function like this, and that's going to do our put it into a data frame and export it to CSV. And then I'm going to do a print statement at the, I'm just going to do save to CSV so we know something happened. And in here, I'm going to make a couple of adjustments as well. Inside my loops, I always like to have a print statement so I know where it's at. So I'm going to do print, and I'm going to say getting page, and we're going to do another f string. So we put our x in again because we want this x value, and an f. And then I'm going to do time.sleep, and I'm going to do a 5-second sleep on each page because otherwise, if you hit it too fast, the server will block your IP. And to do time.sleep, we just need to do import time at the top. Okay, so I'm just going to run this now, and we'll see the result at the end. Okay, that's all finished. And if I open up the CSV file that we got, we can see that we have gone ahead and got all that information exported to CSV. There are 192 entries of a name, address, a website if there was one, and also a telephone number if there was one. So this could easily be adapted to do any of the other fields that were in the information for the business, or we could do multiple pages. You could adapt this so it takes user input for the search, because if we look at the search URL, there's some keywords in here, so we could maybe manipulate that and the location. We could go ahead and build up quite a nice data set. So that's it, guys. Hopefully you found this useful. More web scraping with Beautiful Soup and requests. There's some cool bits in here and getting out some useful information. If you've got any questions, let me know. Don't forget to subscribe. There's more web scraping content in my channel already, and also more to come. And I'm starting to do a weekly live stream on YouTube as well, where I take questions, try and answer, or I try and do some live coding and some scraping. So you'll see notifications for that, hopefully, if they pop up. So do join us. Thank you very much. See you in the next one. Bye.